the internal investigation of contraband, inmate misconduct, inmate injuries, and correctional officers' use of force. The board also consulted with its attorney regarding individual petitions for civil injunctive relief in criminal cases, the Sunshine Act, and the offense of disorderly conduct. We also want to clarify the subjects of the board's executive session last month, which was held on September 9th, as we announced at the September meeting. In that executive session, the board discussed the status of collective bargaining negotiations and the internal investigation of contraband, inmate misconduct, inmate injuries, and correctional officers' use of force, and consulted with its attorney regarding individual petitions for civil injunctive relief in criminal cases. Our next item is public comment on agenda items. Is there any public comment on items on tonight's agenda?
Kimberly Brown, Codwin. I'd like to speak on the agenda about item for the programs and reentry report. I said this before and I'll say it again. There's no productive programs for inmates at George W. Hill. The top 4 programs at George W. Hill is anger management, PrEP, and drug alcohol liaison, referring inmates to inpatient rehab. Only reason why they are the most top 3 is because it's court mandated. The other program is GED program, which is very productive. The DCRP program seems like there's no one accepting the services and should be questioned why. Financial literacy, I don't know one inmate that has taken that class. The threshold is a class only a few inmates felt interested, but sometimes they fall out because it's a lady and most of them are males and they say they can't relate. The reentry case manager goes around and hand sentence inmates reentry packets, which they have no clue about. And the reentry case manager cannot explain too much to them because her time is limited because she has to help out with the inmates for DNA, and she has to help out in the department because currently the department is down 4 case managers, soon to be 5 case managers. And it's a terrible turnover for case management because it puts a burden on the inmates. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment on agenda items? Seeing no one, I'll move to the next item, approval of the minutes from September 2024. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion passed, minutes approved. Next item is an approval of reports for September 2024. Do I have a motion to approve the reports?
Motion.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, the motion to approve the reports has passed. Next item, Executive Director Report. I did want to mention one item that has been of interest in the last few meetings, which is about the county handbook and the county and George W. Hill addendum. Did want to note that the county handbook will be distributed when the updated GW Hill addendum is available. We expect that in the next week or 2. For those that are not familiar, some of our facilities and entities such as Fair Acres, GW Hill, Human Services, because of their operations, have items that are slightly modified from the county handbook. Those are reviewed by the Human Resources and our solicitor's office. And once that is complete, it will be published and distributed with the county handbook. Those items will be available to all GW Hill employees. They will be getting physical copies. They will be completing a form indicating that they received that item. And all incoming employees will receive physical copies of both the county handbook and the addendum. So I do appreciate everyone's patience as the county handbook has been issued a few weeks ago. It is available on our intranet, and we will be getting physical copies to everyone at GW Hill as quickly as possible. And I also wanted to make note that I know we talked about briefly at as we mentioned in executive session, but do want everyone to know that we do look in detail at personnel reports for GW Hill. We getting thorough review of the turnover, have a vacancy rate, turnover rate, looking at those individuals who are leaving due to resignations, terminations, any other issues. So I want people to be aware, particularly at GW Hill, that we do look at those figures and data. We work with our HR department. The GW Hill staff has provided us information, and we encourage anyone who, if they should leave the facility, they'll be offered an exit interview. We ask that people do complete those forms because we are also reviewing those forms to identify any issues or concerns that we should be addressing as a board and make sure that we're aware and familiar with our workforce and their needs and issues. Again, we are looking to have our best, most stable people at the facility and making sure that we reach and have very little vacancy and turnovers, and we'll do our best to make sure that we're meeting the needs of our employees as much as we can, and that's both through personal visits and these reports as well.
Can I make a comment on that?
Sure.
So one thing that I thought was good about the exit interviews is that many of the exit interviews talked about people who were super helpful, who were mentors to them, who were people from whom they learned. And I was just wondering if maybe those people could be talked to kind of see, or I don't know, either, or their supervisors talk to see what it is that they're doing that other people are not doing. That might give you some insight as to, and look, some people don't do things because they don't know to do them or they don't think to do them. For some people, it is second nature to be cooperative and helpful. Not everybody is that way. So maybe these people who are helpful to people who leave could give you some insight that could be translated into the training for other people. So
An excellent idea. We will we'll talk with the warden about that in detail because we do have that information. Okay, next up, the warden's report.
Good evening, and thank you very much. For my facility, even though I'm not a convert, I feel like it's appropriate to say go Phils tonight and wish them the best as they're in their current venture. For our monthly report and statistics, our population as of this morning was 1,202. That is an increase of 56 from what we reported last month. And the only reason why I highlight that is because that is an oddity for us. Generally speaking, in the summer months, we do see an increase. Towards the, winter months, we start to see a slight decrease in the population. Usually we stay consistently under 1,200. At least that's how it's been over the last 2 years. So to have our population over 1,200 in the fall months, it is notable and worth mentioning. In our weekender program, we had 11 participants. 3 of those were first timers. 1 was female. Commitments were 517 with discharges at 486. We did the majority of our recreation, as always, with full block recreation. You can see those occurrences in which we were not able to in the month of September. And while it's not in the month of September, it was recent and it was important that I make note. We did have recently an erroneous report that resulted in an enormous amount of emergency response to George W. Hill. And that might have been alarming to community members who may or may not be getting the accurate information as to what was going on site. So there were erroneous reports that went out that there was an active fire at George W. Hill, that we were not addressing that fire, that we were not evacuating the inmates or staff from those areas. Some reports stated that we were evacuating them and they were going into yard spaces. There was no active fire in the institution. We did have partners and, emergency response support of 3 different fire companies, a fire chief, as well as park police from Delaware County that responded to the agency. Those agencies are all very familiar with our emergency response procedures, and we collaborate with them consistently. Our staff as well is well-versed and trained in our emergency response procedures, and we surveyed the entire area to make sure that there was no significant threat. We worked with those responding agencies to ensure that there was not something that we had missed, and the entire scene was cleared. There were no injuries to any person in the institution. So we did want to make sure that we made a public comment on that. We also wanted to indicate that we are a large facility, and fire suppression, fire detection, fire alarm and activation is part of how our institution is crafted and built, and extraordinarily important in emergency response and safety measures. We take our duties very seriously. The safety of all incarcerated persons, visitors, and staff is supremely important to our agency, and we remain committed to making sure that we maintain and preserve life within the institution.
Can I interrupt you for a moment?
So, sorry, yes?
Yeah, and first of all, I appreciate Director O'Malley stepping in, chairing the meeting while I'm remote today. I just want to remark on the fact that, as you said, this event consumed a whole lot of resources, both within the jail and with first responders within the region, over something that was absolutely, a red herring. There was nothing to it. And I really can't stress enough how negative and negatively impactful such an event can be. And I think just to take a step backward, I think we as a board appreciate feedback. We appreciate it when it's provided in a constructive manner. But I think there is a recurring pattern that I think we've all seen of, I don't know how else to put it, but, non-constructive feedback. People who seem to be more interested in tearing down and harming the facility with the way in which they either, make things up or wildly distort what the facts set to be. So I don't know if this is really coming through per se, but there's a really clear distinction between those two. So I think as a board, we are all for transparency. We are all for finding every opportunity to, as Director O'Malley talked about, in terms of people who leave the facility, making sure that we're getting input as to how we can be better. But there's a really clear distinction between that and people who seem absolutely dead set on damaging the facility and damaging the institution through, and this really is an extreme event, but to call in, to say that a fire is going on when there is not one. In other contexts, that would be a criminal action. And I'm not saying that that's the case here, but the amount of resources that this draws away from a facility where you have, over 1,000 people whose care is in our custody is extremely damaging. And I don't want to just gloss over this. We have to draw a line, and whether it's large or small, the actions that people are taking, whether they work there or have some, personal interest in damaging the institution, I think it's important that we call that out. This is not helping things. There are ways of providing feedback to the board, to the administration, to county council, in ways that are clearly intended for the betterment of the county, of the community, of the institution. That's not the case for how we're getting feedback from some folks. It's not for the betterment. It's for the damaging of it. So I don't want to let this go by as just another remark in our monthly meetings. This was very damaging. There is no way this is of any way useful to the administration of this jail.
I appreciate that comment, Chairman Madden. I was gonna say my comment on this, but since it's come up, this is just outrageous that somebody would do this and call to all these resources to bear. There are so many things that could flow from it that could hurt people, first responders, staff, the incarcerated people. And then to spread rumors about it is just really awful. I don't know if there is a criminal charge possible. If there is, I would say that should be pursued. And if there's a civil possibility through our administrative code, there is a provision for surcharging where someone causes harm and cost to the county to the extent that this costs overtime, manpower. That's something that I'm definitely interested in. And so I think people should be cautioned that they need to stay within the law of, and also the law of decency of not spreading unfounded rumors that would just cause people to be upset and fearful. I found this just completely outrageous and very sad that somebody would do this. But I give the staff and our first responders that came, our park police, they do know how to do this. You've done your drills. I have confidence. I don't care what people say. I have confidence that you know what you're doing when these things come up and that the safety is utmost number one concern. So I just wanted to echo that. I just think it's outrageous that somebody would do this. And I think that we should ferret it out to the extent possible and see if there is someone responsible that should be held responsible.
I should have added in my summary that this is an open investigation. So that will be examined and looked into. And if it is deemed appropriate for prosecution, we work closely with CID and the district attorney's office. And I'm certain that they will, as they have in the past, do the right thing in the interest of justice. I do want to make sure that I note that every agency that responded. So first, the highlight to the staff, because they know what they're doing. We do drills, probably more than most agencies do, because we believe that muscle memory and really going through those actions is going to be what prepares us in the event that a sentinel event does happen. We'll be best equipped to respond because we will have worked through these issues in the form of drills. And so the staff take these incidences very seriously. It's their duty to provide safety, security, protection to the individuals in the institution. And so we did respond and handle this as it should be. But the agencies that came to us, Park Police responds to our agency anytime we have something happening that would be a larger emergency response or patrolling or surveying on the grounds. And they are providing that kind of in the background support that Delaware County may not realize that is an additional responsibility of Park Police, that they are providing support to us as well. And then the fire agencies who may or may not have prioritized a call to our agency versus another place. And I do always think about that from an emergency response. Whenever we're pulling or depleting resources from the community that might be better served or delay a response where there is a real threat or emergency, that is deeply problematic. And I think that we all have an investment in making sure that we can handle what we can handle. And when we need additional response, we enact those measures. We didn't have the opportunity in this case. A third-party individual made a direct call to 911 with inaccurate information. And of course, emergency response has to provide response. They take all threats of any risk very seriously. That is part of their duty and commitment to safety in Delaware County. Moving on with statistics, we've remained very consistent. And I think what is maybe more notable, which has been a subject of conversation in a couple of different meetings as of late with some stakeholders involved. Our pretrial population is a higher percentage than you typically see in county agencies. We will always have more unsentenced or pretrial individuals because we are a county entity. These are individuals who are going through the adjudication process. They may be sentenced to a state correctional institution or a federal correctional institution. They come to the counties first. That's what happens in every county. And so we do have a little bit of what I would refer to as inflated numbers in terms of our percentages. A lot of other agencies, you do see a more stable sentenced population. We do have an average daily population, which is actually the third largest in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania out of all of the county agencies. Unless you're combining all 4 open buildings of Philadelphia, then they would be number 2. They would be number 1, and Allegheny would be 2, and then we would be number 3. For our age, gender, and race ethnicity, again, we are still seeing very stable numbers within demographics. And within our commitments from the month of September, you can see that our lead charges, and so this was a side conversation with Judge Amoroso. We do have lead charges that are very violent crimes. And so that should not be glossed over either. So the lead charges or commitments over 15 include aggravated assault, firearms and weapons charges, receiving stolen property. We've got a lot of different property crimes. We have crimes of drug and alcohol possession or paraphernalia. And we have DUI, which there's obviously a threat to public safety. And that has been very consistent each month for our lead charges of anything of new commits over 15. And so I do think that there is an opportunity within our larger criminal justice system, perhaps at the CJAB, the Criminal Justice Advisory Board, that we spend more time in the future really digging into statistics and determine whether or not there's efficiencies or intervention points that we can work through. We are still predominantly, and you can see it's 26.5% of individuals who come into custody with some kind of probation violation. Only 3 of the 137 within this last month were state parole related. The others are county probation related. In mental health statistics, and some people ask, why do you share all of these numbers? Well, they're important for a number of different reasons. It's also important for Delaware County to see where resources and assets go. And we have patients who require quite a bit of follow-up care treatment. They're entitled to that. We are working to stabilize and reintegrate them into the community. And so it is important that we show these numbers, even if we don't read every single item. If you are watching this virtually or when it's posted online, you can always pause the presentation and be able to see these numbers and review them for yourself. So we have been staying pretty consistent with our mental health population, though we did see a decrease from last month. We are still experiencing a large volume of individuals who either are not being served in the community, which may be increasing their criminogenic behaviors and resulting in incarceration, or they are unstable when they're coming into custody and requiring some additional support and needs. In terms of medication-assisted treatment, you can see our numbers for the month of September. We are still largely continuing persons. While we are doing inductions to buprenorphine, we are mostly continuing. And with our current staffing levels, we are already exceeding, and I know that's been discussed publicly at these meetings, the capacity that our staff has to provide services. So we are going to need to look at the staffing matrix and plan for our medication-assisted treatment services to include individuals qualified to facilitate groups so that we can meet the demands within this population. But we had 161 continuations in this last month and 15 inductions. Employees of the month, we want to recognize and congratulate these 3 individuals: Officer Darrell Vinay, registered nurse, she's one of our charge nurses during first shift, Jen Yost, and Lieutenant Amanda Librano. Our employees of the month are nominated by peers or supervisors. They typically do not come from command staff, so though sometimes they do. From the nominations, I ask that people really kind of explain or articulate why, what made these persons stand out, and why do they deserve the additional recognition? Because all of our employees are working very hard. And from those justifications, we're able to select who is going to be acknowledged. We also had individuals with more than 10 years of service to Delaware County, though that might have been from other employers. So Officer Jacob McCarthy with 19 years, Officer Eugene Jackson, 26 years, Officer Anthony Laughlin with 16 years, Officer Franklin Weaver, 27 years, and Officer Leon Guy with 20 years. In our training academy, we hosted a graduation on September 27th. We began our most recent class on September 16th, and they are expected to graduate on October 25th. They're currently in their OJT. We have a class that is beginning on Monday, October 14th, and we are recruiting for a class on November 12th. And I wanted to take a moment to just thank and acknowledge not only the service that Judge Amoroso has provided to the Jail Oversight Board. By administrative order, she serves at the pleasure of President Judge Linda Cardizano, but she has been an active and engaged participant in the Jail Oversight Board, providing feedback, asking questions, hoping to push progress and make us all perform better. She's also additionally done several different swearing-ins for our correctional officers, and it means a great deal to our organization to have our judges come, observe and participate in graduation, speak about their experiences in the criminal justice, and I think, or criminal justice, kind of world or realm. And I think it's been particularly meaningful for our officers to really feel seen and heard by other persons in the system. And so I wanted to make sure that we thanked you and wished you well as you continue your endeavors of judgehood in Delaware County. For capital improvements and projects, our largest project that has been ongoing has been the roof project that we've been working on. They've been making such incredible progress despite the fact that we did have 5 days of weather delay. We are still on task. They've been able to add additional crews to make sure that we don't fall behind in scheduling. Our current phase of construction has included the temporary vapor barrier roofing, drains, and permanent roofing. We are still anticipated to complete the roofing portion in the first week of November. We are experiencing right now, and I just spoke with our contractor group about this, some sourcing issues to finalize the project. The areas in which we've purchased the metal for flashing and capping is currently from an area that has already been impacted by tropical storms and may be experiencing those again. So we're working to source potentially different materials to make sure that we complete project on time. In terms of our larger security systems project, we're in the bidding process right now. So we do not yet know who all is bidding on this project. We will be opening those bids through the competitive bidding process procedures in the county on October 29th, 2024. And then we will hopefully be awarding those bids and progressing to a timeline for that project. The final slide for my presentation is our cost recovery slide, in which we articulate the different nominations of funds that have been invested. Are there any questions for me from the board? All right, I will pass it to Deputy Warden Daley Fowley.
Thank you, Warden. Good evening, Jail Oversight Board, members who are attending and those who are online. This one is the quarterly report for the last 3 months at George W. Hill. During the month of September, our education instructor attending the 62nd Annual Regional 1 Conference Education Associate Conference in Plymouth, Massachusetts. As you can see from the picture, Ms. Kaspari and Ms. Jill Martin attended a 2-day conference, which include training, listening session, and keynote speakers. They had the opportunity to engage and network and showcase what George W. Hill does in regards to GED. As far as GED this quarter, we have 9 individuals who completed their GED. Our passing rate is 54%, and in total, as of October 1st, we have 55 IPs who earned their GEDs. Excuse me. So as for case management, we are, I want to thank all the case managers. We're facing attrition. Even though we're very short staffed, case management was able to provide 4,962 individual case management session, which is allowed for a very short team. I want to welcome Sarah Watt, who came on board as of July. IPs are also afforded this month. We started last month and the month before with boarding. They have the opportunity to engage on their civil duties. We work closely with the Cook County League of Women's Voter and the Board of Elections. Thank you for your partnership and the resources you provided. In the month of this quarter's 4 of our case management and 1 substance use counselor finally completed the whole cohort of motivational interview, and I would like to thank the training collaboration with Chester County Adult Probation. So last month, Mr. Corson and Ms. O'Malley talked about provided some type of services for the Narcan population. I just want to let you guys know we're currently in communication with the Department of Health to provide a pilot Narcan program to George W. Hill's, both the IP and the correction officers. I would like to thank Interim Director Laura Warren and her team, Ms. Ali Ferkery, Janet Burton, and Gifted Key. We look forward to work with you guys in the near future. Our substance use population, the male are 69% and 31% female. As you're aware, our biggest issues in Delaware County and prison is 41% of our IP have a opioid dependency. And the second one is the methamphetamine and then alcohol. In regard to chaplaincy and religious services, 38% of our population participate in some form of religious services. We have 14 organizations who are providing some type of religious services. Religious programs in partnership with Angel Tree for a Christmas drive. We met with them, and thank you, Reverend Dunn. Angel Tree is a part prison fellowship ministry that provides life recovery Bible and other Christian material, video, and program to those who are incarcerated. So pretty much what we have a list of individuals who meet the criteria, and Angel Tree will provide Christmas gift to the family when they're incarcerated. Also in the month of August, as you guys are aware, Reverend Dunn and Program Administrator Kelly Shaw attended the Pennsylvania Prison Association. And also I'd like to thank Mr. King for working with us and identify 2 imams who hopefully will be able to provide us some service for the Muslim population. Our grievances. Our grievance, I just want to let people know below is a chart that indicates the request for information for the 3rd quarter from the remaining population. It's the same as the 2nd quarter. So, but it's amazing how the case manager, who are very social and the rest of our team, our grievance percentage is only 4.75% from 12,257 grievances in total. As I said earlier, we're hiring, we're looking for case managers, and it's a mental health coordinator. I want to take this opportunity to congratulate our case manager, Mr. Godfrey Okero Osidu, who is retiring after 24 years with George W. Hill. He is one of our strong case manager who really is dedicated to this population. Enjoy your retirement and enjoy your traveling back home, back and forth home to Ghana. Also, I want to congratulate Mr. Dickinson, who's pursuing other avenue. Mr. Dickinson was with us for almost 1.5 years. Before I pass it to Program Administration, Ms. Shaw, are there any questions from the board? Program Administration.
Good evening, members of the board and the public. Our two updates for our two grant-funded programs. The Public Health Management Corporation facilitates the Delco Reentry Program. PHMC continues to see clients bi-monthly to develop an individualized release plan. The plans focus on housing, employment, education, and community support. Enrollment is voluntary and open to Delaware County residents with no exclusion of charges. Open enrollment service extends 60 days post their release date. In total, 22 have enrolled in the program, and we had 2 new enrollments in September. Our other grant-funded program, Education Data System, Inc., referred to as EDSI, facilitates the First Step Workforce Development Program. It's a 4-week course. The 4-week course completed, the 4-week course completed cohort 18 on Friday, October 4th. 6 participants signed up for the class and 3 successfully completed the course. Yesterday, we began cohort 19 with our female population. We had 7 females who met the program criteria. 4 signed up for the course. 2 were discharged prior to the end of the course, and 1 had already completed the course. For the next slide, I thought it was important to showcase the First Step course calendar. As you can see, it's carefully laid out for the 4 weeks. The comprehensive 4-week course provides assessment, individual development plans, comprehensive case management, career exploration and planning, job preparation, counseling, and assistance with linking to social services required to help transition back into the community. Week 1, as you can see, focuses on assessments. The AQ Max is a personality test, and also the KSAS, which is a comprehensive adult student assessment system, all begin on week 1. Week 2 and 3 focus on job readiness and life skills. It also includes the IRON assessment, which gauges recidivism by identifying risk, needs, and strength. The final week, week 4, is a transitional planning, which includes community resource day, where members of the community join the class. Our other reentry program updates include the Inside Out Prison Exchange Program, which is our college level course, had 11 participants in September. Thresholds had 11 participants. Our in-house reentry case manager met with 15 sentence participants for reentry plans. Our drug and alcohol liaisons released 54 to treatment. Maternity Care Coalition offered support to 1 pregnant female. Life Skills High School, which is a program for our juveniles, had 3 participants. And the Delaware County Veterans Department provided service to 2 veterans. And electronic learning, we had 360 courses completed on the tablet. I want to give a special thank you to the volunteers from Penn State Brandywine, Child, Family, and Focus, Maternity Care Coalition, and Thresholds, which enhanced the program in our department for the month of September. Thank you.
I had a question.
Yes.
For the Delaware County Reentry Program, I'm just curious, and maybe I should know this. So the county is overseeing the reentry projects that happens, correct?
Well, we're overseeing the organization that is facilitating the program. It's Public Health Management Corporation. They facilitate the service.
Okay, does that come from the Delaware County Reentry Coalition of Delaware County? Because I was kind of confused.
It does not, the money.
Okay.
You can answer. I just wanted to be readily available.
Yeah, so I was a little confused. I was just trying to find out, is it separate? Is there anyone in the county that is involved with reentry, getting this data / information so we can have it, whatever, because I helped kind of create that.
So while this is not through the Reentry Coalition, of which you are a member of and a huge proponent, this is something that CJAB had solicited and received grant funding through PHMC. And this is through CJAB's initiative, largely overseen with Danielle Hibbard
Danielle,
from
okay,
the Adult Probation and
that's what
Lee Aubrey with the Public Defender's Office. And so this was not something that the facility actually solicited.
okay,
But of course, we're members of CJAB. And so we are active participants because all of the work has to happen on site. We were part of those stakeholder meetings, but this was done very separately from those discussions. It is at zero cost to the county and totally grant funded service.
right. Yeah, I was concerned because, well, of course, I know Danielle and Lee is probably involved too. So yeah, this is why we need an executive director of reentry, right? Because of this, right? This information.
Going to be an opportunity for one.
I'm not trying to court myself, but it's an opportunity for this information and this data to get to the county so we can see exactly what we need in order for the efforts of the people who aren't incarcerated in Delaware County to participate in a program that is very, very helpful for them. And I'm kind of glad that Kelly has helped kind of leading that way. You're doing a great job, by the way. And I hope to see that even move forward faster and better so we can try to establish that reentry coalition that we need for the county for people to get services. So thank you very much.
Thanks for the report. Any other questions? Move on to our next item. Any new business?
Yes.
Mhm.
I have new business to tell the board and the county, people of the county. I want to thank the warden and her staff for allowing me to make the block meetings at the prison. I must say, it was a heck of an experience. And I was very impressed with the professionalism there and the participants, even the residents that's there, men and women, which was very, it was amazing to me. I think that the board, whenever I get a chance to kind of report to them, I kind of let some people know that people who live in that prison really appreciate people from the outside coming in to witness the movement, right? And they're interacting in the prison with all, rather you're wearing a uniform or you're wearing a jumpsuit, right? Whatever that looks like. I've gotten a lot of phone calls from parents of loved ones that was there, and all of those people at every block that was represented told their family members how exciting it was that somebody from the board actually sat in those meetings and watched the process. I believe that was the first time that a board member ever been to any of them. That's why I wanted to go. Not only the people that live there, the people that work there, if our energy can even get better and we can do more together so we can, make the prison a prison, right? With some humanizing relationships between people who are incarcerated and people who are in charge of the overseeing of the prison. So I got to say that when I went, I had an opportunity to speak. I was introduced to all of the staff. I liked the fact that every department that was necessary in reference to grievances from the residents were able to speak about their issues and concerns. Shout out to Sarah, who's been, as the compliance officer, who's been doing this a very long time. She is a bona fide professional, in my opinion, and she was very cooperative. We have been communicating very diligently. So I will be at the next one. I have advised my board members to go. It would be an experience that you would greatly appreciate. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Warden, would you mind making sure that I get the dates and we can make sure we send that to all jail oversight board members should they like to attend?
All of the invites are in your calendars. If anybody did not receive them, it was likely an error, an unintended one. Sometimes when we send calendar invites to the distribution email group, it does not always go through. And so please do let me know. Our next, because these are monthly block rep meetings, will be the week of the 20th. I am blanking on what the actual date is. So please first check your calendars. If it's not in there, either email me or call me directly. We'll make sure to get those out to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and
Just-
just wanted to chime in and thank Raheem for going to the block rep meeting. And I'm glad it was a helpful experience for you, and I appreciate the feedback you gave to us, privately after being there. I think board members, we have both formally and informally our opportunities to witness the sort of day-to-day actions at the prison. And I'm glad that this was a context that you felt was helpful for you.
The other thing that comes to mind as we think about the inmate welfare fund is these discussions might lead to some good ideas and usage of that fund, and love to see that funding get back out to the population.
I'm so glad you said that, Madam Executive. One of the things that we did talk about with the Islamic community is, getting them some books, right? Some religious books. Are we allowed to use funds from the inmate welfare fund, rather they're Muslim, Christians, Jews, or whatever? Can we use those funds to get people who believe in Islam, who practice Islam? Can we get them books from that fund? I mean, if not, I'm going to find a way to get 250 Qur'ans and donate it myself. But if we can do that, we can donate that to the population. One of the concerns I heard, and I'm not going to use the word complaints because I don't even like that language. One of the concerns we heard were Qur'ans and Islamic literature. And Chaplain Dunn she's doing an excellent job, the best she can. She's understaffed. And one of the things I know she can't do is make copies all day. She just can't do it. And people, some of the residents, they don't understand that she got other jobs to do, right? I understood it, and we had a great conversation. I actually been in communication with Chaplain Dunn. One of the biggest requests is if we can get them some religious books out of the inmate welfare fund. We got to figure that out, what that looks like. If not, I'm going to make sure it happens because we got a couple of imams volunteering to come in and do the Jumu'ah and the Ta'aleem services. But I want to get them literature and I want them to have books.
Absolutely. Thank you. Okay. Now it's time. The next item is general public comment. Is there anyone for general public comment?
Kimberly Brown, Godwin. Miss O'Malley, you said there's no addendum currently. So since there's no addendum currently at the jail, technically the employees at George W. Hill should have been receiving the same sick days and holidays as other employees of the county. That's the big issue. We should be receiving the same sick days and holidays. Next thing, feedback. Madden, you said feedback and transparent. Kevin, you're not being transparent, as well as the warden. And Joanne Phillips, I love when you co-sign. It's fair to be good and transparent because everyone should know what's going on. There's a big staffing issue at the prison. The warden didn't tell everyone on the board and let it be known that the jail was on lockdown because there was no staff. There was barely sergeants, let's be honest. When the jail is on lockdown, the IPs get on phones and make crazy phone calls to the outside. This is what they do on every lockdown. They make the crazy phone calls. So of course they get crazy and reach out to family. And of course, the family member going to believe what they say and try to contact the prison. So if the prison is closed on the weekend, there's no one to get in contact. So that's what happened. Anybody can tell you that. An inmate called home, frantic, trying to scare their family members, and that's what happened. The jail was on lock, so therefore it was a tantrum. So we're going to be transparent. There was no full staff most of the Saturday. Let's be transparent. Nominating employee of the month. I never knew that was a thing to nominate employees. Jail Oversight Board. The citizen members shall be appointed by the Delaware County Executive Director with the consent of Delaware County Council. Miss O'Malley, the board needs to change and seats are up. First person need to go is Brian. He's been on the board for so long. Judge Amoroso, did we get the investigation report?
We did not. I did not ask them for them directly. I passed it on to other members who I thought would be more appropriate to get them. So it did not appear that there was that it was unusual. But we didn't get them.
Okay. So therefore, again, we still not being transparent on the board. There needs to be a change in the jail. Thank you.
There's no other public comment, then board member comments.
Okay, I not that I want to prolong this because we're probably beyond the Philly start date.
Yes.
But look, I will no longer be participating on the Jail Oversight Board. And I wrote this so that I wouldn't go on ad nauseum. But I'm not sure how my contributions really helped, but I did learn that our system of justice has many parts. Okay, and each part might know their job, but they've little understanding of what the other parts are doing. And that causes the ignorance of what others do is unfortunate, leads to unnecessary cost to the county and delay in the system. I would like to suggest the Jail Oversight Board, and I think we've done those things, like when the warden started to talk to probation, it helps to understand what everybody else is doing, because we all may know our own little parts of it, but as a judge, I can tell you, once I sentence them, I really don't know what happens with them. And sometimes I think, like, shouldn't I know? Shouldn't I know who to ask even? So I would urge this board to encourage cooperation between, look, probation wants people to succeed. The jail wants people to get out. They want people to be safe. The judges want people to not come back. You know, those are all good things that if we were working together, as opposed to everybody saying like, whoa, this is my territory, I'm going to make my rules and you're going to follow them because I get to be the boss of my own territory, is not particularly helpful. And so I would hope that this board would encourage continued communication between the different departments and for us to ask questions. Ask questions, like me asking questions as a warden. Look, I am naturally curious. And so I want to know what I don't know. And I don't even know what I don't know. And so with all the statistics, I got to tell you guys, the statistics, unless it is something really specific, they're going over our heads. They really are. You know, and you probably need to spend a little less time on statistics, at least telling us. I can't believe that people out there ever even like get them. Yes, the big statistics. Are we having a bigger population or a lesser population? But ultimately what we want to do is make sure people are not coming back. And so that program, the PMC, whatever, I'm not very good with initials, but look, that came through CJAB, which it is a court participatory program. Like Judge Capuzzi worked really hard to get the money for that. So if anybody thinks judges don't want people to get out of jail, it's just not true. It's just not true. So, and I just talked to the warden about how our county appears to have the third largest, not appears to, but has the third largest population. Look, I want to know why that is. Look, we all know that there are parts of our county that are high crime areas. There's nothing we can do about that, at least not yet, but we can certainly send people back into the community with tools that maybe they didn't have. So I'm sorry, I said more than I actually wrote, which of course I did. But I do appreciate being on here. Look, it's a pain in the neck to get out to do the swearing in, but I sincerely believe that the people who are being sworn in want to do a good job, want to do the job that they are being sworn in to do. And honestly, I feel happy that I'm there to say to them, look, this is a tough job, just like my job is tough in certain ways. Like, I want them to know that there are people who understand that this is a tough job. In any case, we need new people on the board. We need people who have different ideas, who see things differently. So you'll have someone else, and thank you for letting me say that, and go Phillies.
Mhm.
Who knows, they might be winning already. So,
That's right.
all right, thank you.
Okay, go Phils, but I just want to say thank you, Judge Amoroso. It's
Wow.
been good having you on the board. I think your questions are good. I personally like the statistic because I think the people need to know that they have to spend money on the jail because we have a lot of mental health issues and we have other issues, and maybe the state can step in and bring us some money because we have to spend it. So but I think we all bring a lot of different perspectives, but I have appreciated your perspective on the board.
Thank you.
And
You're-
I appreciate the expertise that we bring to the jail from all the different areas and get a good overview of what's going on from people that know what's going on.
Yes, I do want to.
And I want to add my thanks, Judge Amoroso. You've been an incredibly engaged board member for your few years being on here. I appreciate the appreciation you give during the swearing-in ceremonies, the fact that you make the trek out there, and I've always appreciated your candor. You have not always agreed with the direction or the decisions being made, but that's exactly, it's always been done in a constructive way. And I really thank you and appreciate you for your candor and your engagement. And I hope our paths crossed as you continue your service to the county as judge. So thank you, and go Phils.
Yeah. Yep. You're more than welcome. Okay.
If I may, I want to thank Judge Amoroso as well. She and I both came on at the same time, and I found her to be very insightful, and I've learned a lot from her. And I'm going to miss her. But I can tell you that her successor has been appointed, effective, I think, November 1st,
Mhm.
and I think she will do a good job as well. So I think
I do too.
it's Judge Amoroso is a tough person to replace, but I think we have someone been appointed who will do a good job as well.
And you will have the steady hand of Judge Pagano, and don't worry, I will continue to ask him questions.
Trust me, she'll be asking me questions. Yeah.
Yes, I'm naturally curious. So, yes. All right, thank you.
You want to say something?
Motion to adjourn.
Yeah, I wanted to say thank you, Judge.
Sure.
Like, your tenacity and curiosity of what goes on with this transition, right, and transparency of us representing the county for people, rather they're incarcerated or not. I recognize your candor and your care, right? You care about people succeeding. And I think we miss that sometimes. I'm going to encourage myself internally when you leave to make sure I start asking more questions, because some people feel like we don't ask enough questions. You know, we try to get through this thing and we all want to go home and we want to watch the Philly games and all this kind of stuff. And I get it, but this is so important. I really appreciate, I've learned a lot from you. I've listened to you a lot. We bumped shoulders in a few different places, the work that we do here in the county. And I will continue to be a learner, a listener, and a guy that's moving forward to try to help get stuff done. I only want to work with people that want to get stuff done. That's been my favorite line most of my life. So it was an honor, Your Honor.
Absolutely welcome, and I do appreciate it.
Thank you. There's no other board comment. I do want to thank you as well.
Welcome.
We haven't worked together too long on the board, served together, but thank you for your service and your passion, which is clear and evident. And again, thank you for being such a good champion of this important work. Thank you. I did want to make one comment, a clarifying statement. You know, I mentioned earlier about the handbook and the addendum. Yes, an updated addendum will be forthcoming. Until that time, the current addendum, which is called the limited edition, which was issued in 2022 and is available at the Human Resources Department and through employee supervisors, is accessible to all employees and is in place until the addendum is brought forth, and again will be made available to everyone in a printed format and electronically. I have no other comments and we'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Good evening. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm at the college. I think I'm
Yeah.
going to the college. Yeah.
Yeah.